But first, that extraordinary story we're waking up to from America this morning. 3 young women who went missing over a decade ago have been found alive and well in the basement of a house in Ohio. Amanda Berry, Gina DeJesus and Michelle Knight were discovered by a neighbour who heard screaming coming from the house. Well, we can join Ross King now for all the very latest. A remarkable story, Ross.
It really is incredible, and as you say, it goes back over a decade. The girls went missing 2002, 2003, 2004. Michelle Knight, she disappeared. She was at the age of 21. Amanda was 16. She was actually on her way home from work. Gina was just 14 at the time. She was coming back home from school. And Amanda actually had a child while being held captive. As you said, a remarkable story, remarkable ending. The neighbour, Charles Ramsey, heard the screams from Amanda, broke down the door, managed to get Amanda and her child out. Most people, of course, had given up any hope at all of ever seeing the women ever again. They got an incredible 911 call into the emergency services, which I know you're going to hear later. 3 men have been arrested. They're all brothers. One of them is the man who actually owned the house, and that was Ariel Castro, and he is believed to have been the school bus driver, and he's the one that's mentioned in the 911 call that you're going to hear a little bit later on. Incredible story, but a great ending.
Ross, thank you very much. Well, joining me now, magazine editor Joe Elvin and journalist Andrew Pierce. Extraordinary story. It really is, isn't it? It's quite remarkable.
I mean, I can see that I'm going to be gripped by this for weeks, because I think there's just so many details that we don't know. How can you be in a house for 10 years, in what looks to me like a very small, cramped house, and that be the first time you can raise the alarm? It's just an extraordinary chain of events.
And not that far away from where they were taken, just a few miles.
And there were chains from the ceilings in some of the rooms in the house, so it was completely barbaric. And my blood just ran cold when I heard he was a school bus driver.
I know. Well, we've got that 911 call, as they have in America, it's 911, that Amanda Berry made to the police. Have a listen.
Who's the guy who went out? His name is Ariel Castro. All right, how old is he? He's like 52. All right, and I'm Amanda Berry. I've been on the news for the last 10 years.
That's remarkable. She says, I've been on the news for the last 10 years, which makes you think that they're obviously aware that people were looking for them.
Extraordinary. And I think that what really shocks me when every time you hear one of these awful stories is how many more of these stories like that out there. It must be absolutely haunting for families like the McCanns, people like that, to think, you know, should we give up hope or should we not? When it's just, it's
in a strange way, it maybe does give them hope.
Yes.
In a sort of really odd way that perhaps, you know, that she is still alive, but God forbid in a situation like that.
And in a bizarre way, the film producers will be rushing to make this into a movie.
They will. They will. You're absolutely right. Making the news here, Jimmy Tarbuck has been arrested in connection with an allegation of child sex abuse going back to the 1970s. Richard Gaisford is in Kingston upon Thames, where the comedian was arrested. What more do we know about this, Richard?
Well, Lorraine, Jimmy Tarbuck lives here on this private estate surrounding a golf course, and it hasn't been confirmed by police that he is the 73-year-old man that was arrested here in Kingston on Friday, April the 26th. But it is understood that detectives travelled down from North Yorkshire Police to interview him here at his home. He's been questioned in connection to an investigation they're running into historic child abuse allegations in Harrogate in the late 1970s, made by a man who was just a young boy at the time. And we understand that Mr. Tarbuck was questioned and arrested and then released on police bail pending further investigations. We haven't heard from Jimmy Tarbuck this morning about this at all. Nothing more really from the police. The police only saying that the information they got came via the Operation U-Tree investigation, and you'll remember that was set up by detectives at Scotland Yard in the wake of the Jimmy Savile sex scandal.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. You do wonder where that is all going to end, don't you? Making many of the front pages this morning, pictures of Nick Milligan and his daughter Emily, who died in that boat accident in Cornwall, along with the rest of the family. It's on the front of the Mirror, it's on the front of the Sun. Destroyed family in speedboat carnage is what they're saying, and it's also on the front of the Times this morning too. Dreadful, dreadful story. Again, you know, what can you say other than it's just horrific.
And it's heartbreaking, and in a sense the fact it happened on a bank holiday makes it seem almost worse, because we saw with the lovely weather families flocking to the seaside, flocking to the water, and going out on a boat trip is the sort of thing families do.
They need to find out what has happened with that, because I thought there was a cut-off that would happen. You had this thing round your wrist and it can cut off.
I think that seems to be the centre of the investigation at the moment. It's really chilling for me. I literally go to that spot on holiday. Gosh. It's such a peaceful, idyllic, beautiful part of the world. That community will be shocked for weeks.
Dreadful, dreadful story. There are calls for school Ofsted inspections to be axed today, aren't they?
Let's confuse parents even more.
I know.
I can't wait. I mean, it's, you know, it's, listen, I think that what is it, some think tank group of Demos have decided that we need a more rounded approach to the Ofsted reports, and let's not be slavish to league tables which they feel actually harm education. I can probably see some merit in it, but I don't know. I think that a lot of what they're calling for in terms of getting reports from parents, pupils, the community, my community does that already. I think it's a laudable idea, but I'm not sure if it's an affordable idea, and it's something that communities could probably take the initiative on themselves.
I think parents like to know how well the school's doing too.
Oh, sure. No,
it's a very important barometer.
No, it is very much so. What about this one? Don't buy ice creams in Rome. Why not, Andrew? Because
it will cost you £13.50, and that's from the takeaway. And if you sat down at the gelato, it would cost you probably more like £18. Now, this happened to 4 people from Birmingham.
Yes.
They paid it and then complained afterwards. The defence from
so British.
Isn't it?
That's so British.
And the defence of the cafe owner, the gelato owner, they were very large ice creams. They'd have to be. You'd want the whole tub in your cone,
Have you had a gelato in Italy? It's seriously nice. I mean, I might go and pay for my €13 ice cream. It's going to be amazing.
£54 for 4. I'd be doing the washing up.
That's extraordinary. That's just silly. That's just silly. Now, what about this? Being reported David Walliams has become a daddy, which is lovely.
Yes, apparently it's Twitter speculation.
Oh, it's out
on
Twitter, right? You know, but he's not tweeted himself.
Apparently not, but no, lovely news. I think David, you know, my daughter is such a fan of David's books.
Oh,
I can reading the books, I can imagine him making a lovely daddy, actually, I have to say.
What have they had?
Apparently a boy.
A boy. Good. As long as they don't call it Simon. Which they might.
They might.
Very good.
Somewhere, you know.
Probably will be the middle name. Thank you both very much indeed. Thank you. Right, OK, it's time for competition time now. Oh, actually, we do want to find out what you think. Jimmy Tarbuck has been arrested in connection with that allegation of child sex abuse dating back to the 1970s. We were talking about that. So do get in touch with us. You know the usual way that you can get in touch. You can get in touch through Twitter, and you can email us, and you can text us too. Right, competition time. Your chance to win a cracking prize. Here we go.